All right, here we go. Welcome into the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and here's what we have coming up. The Niners just got some great news. Looking ahead to their 2025 schedule, did Dre Greenlaw hint that he's going to leave the Niners and sign elsewhere in free agency? And is Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan eyeing and looking at a specific defensive coordinator candidate if he ends up firing Nick Sorensen? All of that coming up. But first, help me out. Help your boy out. Closing in on 15,000 followers on X. I'm currently about 100 people away. So obviously here on this show on YouTube, so much long-form Niners content, but on social media, X, Instagram, the handle is the same. I put out even more Niners content because the content grind does not stop. So if you want to follow me over there, get me to 15K, I'd certainly appreciate that. Don't be a stranger either. Slide in the DMs. Say what's up, and we can talk some ball. As for that good news for San Francisco, last week to kick off the new year here in 2025, we looked at the schedule of opponents for the Niners, and because they clinched last place in the NFC West, that means that they are going to have a fourth place schedule. Now there's some more analytics coming out and data pertaining to the Niners schedule, and I want to run through that here. So in 2024, this year, that just ended. It was a disaster for the Niners, 6-11 after they entered the year as Super Bowl favorites. San Francisco had the most difficult strength of schedule among 32 teams in the NFL. It featured a -31 rest day disadvantage. Oftentimes when the Niners would take on an opponent, they would have the rest advantage over the Niners, something that I don't think is really fair, especially considering that in 4 of the last 5 years, San Francisco has played in an NFC Championship game or a Super Bowl, meaning they play deep into the calendar year, then they have a short off season, not as much time to heal up. And I think that carryover effect led to all of the injuries this season. But the good news is, in 2025, the Niners are slated to have the easiest strength of schedule based on 2024 records. Via SF Data, 49ers on X, really good follow if you're into that type of analytical data. The 49ers 2024 strength of schedule, hardest in the NFL, as I noted, and as you can see, they were number 1 for the average winning percentage against their opponents here this season. But once again, via SF Data 49ers, the 2025 strength of schedule is the easiest in the NFL because you see that average and combined winning percentage is 32nd among 32 teams. This is positive news for the Niners. That average winning percentage for their 2025 opponents, under 42%. And the Niners next year will play 4 teams with a winning record and only 3 playoff teams. That includes the Los Angeles Rams, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Houston Texans. That Niners home schedule next season, the divisional opponents, Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams. As we know this season, the Niners did not fare well inside the division. Falcons and Panthers also coming to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. The Super Bowl next year will be at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. And then those final 3 home games, Jags, Titans, Chicago. We're not sure when these games will be. We just know who the Niners will be playing and where. The schedule release will come out here in a few months. The away schedule for San Francisco. Once again, those divisional teams, Cardinals, Seahawks, Rams, Saints, Buccaneers, Texans, Colts, Giants, and Browns. And for instance, if the Niners would have been in 3rd place in the NFC West, they would have taken on the Packers and the Bengals. Instead, they're able to get much easier opponents, and they take on the Browns, for instance, instead of Cincinnati. Much better to go up against Cleveland as compared to Joe Burrow. So my final thoughts here, the Niners with this easiest strength of schedule next year, San Francisco during 2024 looked mentally, spiritually, physically broken. And for the first time since 2020, after long playoff runs, the Niners have a full offseason to reset, refresh, rebuild the roster. And once the season comes around in September of this year, San Francisco should be healthy. They should be recharged. And they're going to have an easier schedule to hopefully stack up some wins. And the 49ers have really had some taxing seasons. They need this. Not only have they played deep into the calendar year with those shorter off seasons, They play a very physical brand of football. So what do you think? This is today's poll question and the pinned comment on today's show. Will the Niners be back in the playoffs in 2025? P for playoffs, M for miss. Let me know down in the comment section right now. Still to come, did Dre Greenlaw and his family hint that he has played his last game with San Francisco? And which defensive coordinator candidate could Kyle Shanahan be eyeing up? Before we do that, make sure you sign up with Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. And right now, when you play $5, you get $50 instantly. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's playoff time. It's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with the best place to win cash while watching the NFL playoffs. They now offer MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account. Some selections that we like for Wild Card Weekend. C.J. Stroud, more on the passing yards. Lad McConkey, less on the receiving yards. Lamar Jackson, more on his rushing yards. Bo Nix, more on his rushing yards as well. Sneaky mobility for him. And then James Cook, more than 11.5 receiving yards. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick 2 or more players. Choose more or less. Pick more, pick less. Pick Prize Picks. prizepicks.com/CLNS. We move forward on today's show. Has Dre Greenlaw played his last game with the San Francisco 49ers? He is set to be an unrestricted free agent who could demand big-time money despite his injury history. We, as we all know, suffered that torn Achilles back in February, nearly a year ago at this point, against the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl defeat. Came back in December, played a half of football against the Rams, looked awesome, led the team in tackles, couldn't play in the second half because of leg fatigue. Tried to play the following week against the Miami Dolphins, and he had to get shut down because of calf soreness. So it's good and impressive that he tried to come back for his football team when they were still in it, trying to make the playoffs. He did come back in 10 months, does have that injury history. And in 2022 and 2023, he played a lot. But prior to that, he did miss a lot of time with San Francisco with a variety of injuries. And the reason that we're talking about this now, there was like a party between Fred Warner's family and Dre Greenlaw's family, and Fred Warner's wife had put this out on social media. Point of view, your team didn't make the playoffs, and the NFL free agency is taking your best friend to another team, and we are all severely unwell. And then we flip it to the next photo, and this is from Dre Greenlaw's fiance, I believe. I don't think they're married. If they are, my mistake. We quite literally have been blessed with the best neighbors the past 2 years, our last block party. So this is the Warner family getting together with the Greenlaw family, and they're pretty much saying their farewells here. Of course, Greenlaw's going to test free agency to see what money that he gets. Had the Niners already told him, look, because of your injuries, we just can't bring you back. Greenlaw's fiance's Michaela Gallagher. Sydney Warner is Fred Warner's wife. So Michaela says, Sydney, feeling all of the emotions all over again. So thankful for the family that we built here and praying so hard. We'll be back. Love you forever, my girl. And then Sydney Warner saying forever with a couple of appropriate emojis. Now, as we know, with all of these contract negotiations for the Niners over the years, we see these social media tactics quite frequently. I'll just say this. If another team really wants Dre Greenlaw, given that injury history, given his age being in his late 20s and the uncertainty that comes along with being an NFL player, and the Niners being tight on cap space, with the Brock Purdy contract extension looming, I think that Dre Greenlaw will take the bag, and I think he should take the bag. His path, 2019 fifth-round pick out of Arkansas, registered 100-plus tackles in 2022 and in 2023, known as the enforcer and the engine of this Niners defense. Him and Fred Warner formed one of the top linebacking duos in the NFL, and I thought his play and his instincts really missed by this defense here in 2024. We round out with this. So the Indianapolis Colts undergoing some changes to their coaching staff. Pat McAfee went nuclear on his former team, basically saying the organization is a joke, and the organization and the coaching staff didn't hold the players accountable. He wants a cultural change within the Indianapolis Colts organization, and Shane Steichen is the head coach. His seat is pretty hot, and he decided to part ways with his defensive coordinator in Gus Bradley. Matt Maiocco, who covers the Niners for NBC Sports Bay Area. This was his 30th season on the beat. Congratulations to you, Matt. He's been on the show before. He tweeted this out and quote tweeted what the Colts said. Interesting development when considering Gus Bradley was on Kyle Shanahan's radar in the past. I think anytime when Matt Maiocco says something, you put stock into it. He's what I call an old school journalist. He's not about clickbait. He's not about hot takes. He's about reporting facts and sharing some opinions and analysis from time to time. But it's smart coverage. And for him to say that, yeah, I think it's pretty important. There's also this. There are kind of indirect ties between Gus Bradley and the 49ers with how they like to play defensive football. Gus Bradley was the Legion of Boom defensive coordinator with the Seattle Seahawks. Robert Saleh was under him there as an assistant and then followed Gus Bradley to Jacksonville when Bradley became the head coach of the Jags. And outside of the Steve Wilkes hiring, Kyle Shanahan has hired in-system, meaning that system, defensive coordinators. Nick Sorensen, he also worked with the Seahawks. He has operated the similar system that Kyle Shanahan has preferred to run. Now, if Shanahan brings in Gus Bradley, we'll have some questions here. I think you should bring in Robert Saleh. Of note, Robert Saleh, one of the candidates for that Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching gig. Again, he was an assistant there, but the Colts defense this past year under Gus Bradley was not good. They were 24th in points per game at 25.1, 29th in yards per game at 361.2, 22nd in yards per play at 5.5, 30th on third downs, 23rd in the red zone. Those numbers, not much better in a lot of these categories as compared to what the Niners just did in 2024. The first step toward bringing in a new defensive coordinator, and Nick Sorensen, he's not my guy. Gus Bradley, he's not my candidate. Robert Saleh is the guy who I'm going after. The Niners, at first, need to fire Nick Sorensen. Kyle Shanahan fired special teams coordinator Brian Schneider. That's the correct move. Next up, fire Sorensen. Be sure to hit that sub button here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. And as always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the show.